This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hello! You're listening to Animal Party on Pet Life Radio, and I'm extra excited this week. Oh yeah. Why? Because I was expecting puppies to be born on Valentine's Day, and the puppies came early. So that's why. And I've got this song going through my head. I can't get it out of my head. You might remember it. It's Love Potion number 9. That's the song that's going through my head over and over. And why is that? Because there were 9 puppies born yesterday. Love Potion number 9, 9 puppies. So I am posting and taking videos of the newborns when they were just minutes old, some of them a couple hours old. That was yesterday. And now today I'll post again on Deb Wolf Pet Expert on YouTube. And I'm going to try and post every day. So you get to see them as they age. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day. I'll try not to miss a day. I'll try. So far, so good. So if you want to see a Mama Doodle, 40-pound dog, she's reddish colored, sort of an amber color, beautiful dog, deep dark eyes and shaggy hair. And she sort of looks like an alpaca, but anyway, cutie dog. Peachy is her name. She looks like a peach, and she has now had 9 puppies. She's a first-time mom, and she had them yesterday, and she's in my living room right next to the nice warm wood stove, and she has electric heating pads underneath her, and she's in a specially made whelping pen so she won't accidentally sit on any of her babies. And so if you look up the video on Deb Wolf Pet Expert YouTube, you'll probably notice that. You'll notice some white tubing around her and some cords plugged in. Do not fret. This is intentional. This keeps her puppies warm. She can move off of it if she wants, and so can they. They can wiggle off of it. But right now, they need the warmth. They're newborns. So it's really important that they stay very, very warm. And her too. She needs to stay warm too. So if you want to check out the 9 little puppies, it's almost a half litter. So boys and girls split. And some of them are a bit beige and some of them are a bit more white. Daddy is a white poodle. And mommy is a peachy colored golden doodle. So there'll be F1B golden doodles, 3/4 poodle, non-shed, curly-coated cuties. And already, before they were born, half were spoken for. And since being born, 2 more have been spoken for. So it's going to be a popular litter. At 8 weeks, they will go start making people very happy. All right, so I'm going to cover some topics in the show today. I'm going to talk about the Papillon, because one of those little itty-bitty dogs with the big ears and the tufts on their ears and so much personality won an agility competition this week in New York. And so I want to talk about that. A Papillon. What is a Papillon? And do you want one? Or maybe not. Maybe yes. See, that's the thing. Researching this show, I was looking up just some stats. Most popular pets, most popular dogs, smartest dogs, the easiest to train, this kind of thing. And one thing I noticed was some of the dogs are coming in number 1 or 2 on several lists. And sometimes they contradict themselves. Like the Labrador Retriever came in as the most popular dog, and one of the most friendly dogs, Golden Retriever, beat it out, and King Charles Cavalier Spaniel was close as most friendly. But the Lab came in really close. But then the Lab also came in really, really high on mischievous dog. And so what's about that? If it's so trainable, why is it mischievous? And what aren't those opposite? Well, Labs are overrepresented. They've been the most popular dog in America for years, only displaced last year, and in Canada still. So no wonder they're ranking so high on everything. And is a good dog also a mischievous dog? Sometimes. That's what I'd say about that. All right, stay tuned. We're going to talk dogs. We're going to talk cats at the Animal Party on Pet Life Radio. Stay tuned.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in Pet Life Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than Pet Life Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, Pet Life Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms. And our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Hello! We're back on Animal Party, and I want to talk to you about a Papillon. It's a lovely little dog with a fringed tail that arches forward, like over the back, and it has tufts of usually long hair if it's well brushed and well kept, but sometimes kind of fluffy hair on the tops of its ears makes it look almost feline in a way. And they're descended from 16th century Spanish dwarf spaniels. So it's kind of got the shape of a spaniel, but smaller, with these long pointy ears and these cute tail. And they came from Europe, and they're sort of dainty, but they're amazingly agile. And so if you watch the footage of this dog winning agility, you'll see why. There's an event in agility. There's a lot of events. There's jumps and ladders and tunnels, all kinds of things. But the part of the obstacle course race that it excelled most at when I was watching the video was where they run through flags, sort of like a slalom skier. They have to turn and go left, right, left, right, left, right, not skipping, hitting every single turn. And this is where the Papillon excelled the most, because all the bigger bodied dogs, all the taller dogs, longer dogs would take more time doing that. A Papillon can fly through that. So they can be possessive of their owners. So that's one thing to worry about. They may not be the best with like a daycare situation or a popular kid who wants to have all his friends visiting and he's really little. That wouldn't work out necessarily. But they are a classic lap dog, and they can be trained to get used to almost anything. They're brilliant, though. And one of the things they're brilliant at is escape. There used to be a Papillon that lived a couple farms away from here. And the owner was a bachelor who worked a lot. And he would send his dog here to camp. And sometimes the dog would just escape and check itself in. It would just show up. There'd be this tiny little dog, and I mean tiny, like as small as a Chihuahua this thing was. And it would be sitting at the bottom of the, hill in front of this massive gate to Camp Good Dog. And like, hello, may I come in? With this little paw raised. And I would let it in, of course, call the owner, text him, hey, she's here again, and he'd be like, oh, keep him for the day, please. But so they can get out, they can climb things, they can get across things, almost cat-like. So it's something to think of. If you're thinking of getting a smart dog, and here's something else I discovered in my research today. Not only was the Border Collie listed as the smartest dog, but it was also listed as one of the most challenging to own. And I would say that can be true of a Papillon. If you're the kind of person who wants to spend a lot of time trick training and interacting, you want your dog to beg and say its prayers and roll over and jump on your lap, and maybe you're in a wheelchair and you want a dog that can jump up and do everything you need it to do. Papillon's a good pick for that, actually. A Papillon can be trained to do almost anything except do nothing. So that's if you take an honest look at yourself and you realize that what you want from your dog is almost nothing, then don't get a Border Collie or a Papillon or a Weimaraner. Catahoula Leopard Dog was listed in that difficult to own dog, and so difficult to train was the Husky. I concur. And bad at remembering or obeying. Okay, so good at obeying was a Cane Corso, which I also find. Good at obeying commands? Yes, they are. They're like Worf on Star Trek. They're like always on duty. Star Trek type security officer, bodyguard to the nth degree, built like a wrestler, but also like a long distance runner able to tackle any man, anywhere, anytime, and protect you. Right. But is it really the dog for you? I don't know. Listed in the same list right next to it, Cane Corso, right next to it was Dachshund. You couldn't get two more different dogs, right? And they are at opposite ends. The Cane Corso is the most likely to listen to commands, and the least likely, dum da da dum, is the Dachshund. For anyone who's ever owned one, you know food is the way to go with these little conniving opportunists. If you teach your dog, your Dachshund, that there will be food if it listens to you, then you will have a listening Dachshund. But you got to do the food once in a while, not all the time. That's a pet peeve of mine. Okay, so we're going to go to that before break because I got to say it. I just got to. I will be driving and I will see some perfectly decent dog with a perfectly decent human walking along, and the person is bribing the dog to do what the dog would do anyway. Walk beside them, behave, just go for a walk. Basically what the dog wants to do anyway, right? And instead of just walking and telling the dog how good it is and exchanging a look once in a while and maybe touching the dog's head with their hand when it's in the right position on the left and saying, good boy, I see this person constantly reaching into the treat pouch and bringing out treats. And sometimes there's like a trail of saliva because the dog is so confused. Is this dinner? Is this walk? What are we doing? Is this the only thing you know how to do, human? Your only trick is to feed me. So I do understand how food works and how dogs will work for food. But they discovered a long time ago, this is what the Pavlov's dog experiment was all about, that a dog will work harder for occasional reward than getting it every time. So really, these people with their food, their endless supply of food, it's killing me to watch. Put the treats away, okay? Those treats are like a sticker. When your kid does like amazing job, your kid who can't sit still at all finally sits still and completes an assignment, bam, give him a sticker, right? But if the kid barely does it, scribbles over the top of it, and walks away, rips up the page, you don't give him a sticker. No. Stickers are for good work, right? And the same for the dog. So the treat should be for good work. Now, if they're learning something or they're leaving food, like say that Dachshund, who's so food motivated, finds some garbage on the ground and wants to eat it, and instead it comes to you because you called it, well, by all means, give it a treat. That's sticker worthy. But if he's just hanging out and walking beside you because that's where he wants to be and that's where you want him and you're going for a walk and walks are what you do, then why are you feeding him at the same time? You're distracting him from his purpose, which is to accompany you properly on the walk in a polite manner. Yeah. So that's what I have to say about that. And I'm sure we'll come back to that more later because I will probably get some emails and responses from the people who lure train, because that's what they call it. So if you want to do that, by all means, deb@petliferadio.com. Send me your comments, your complaints, your questions, anything you want about dogs or cats or pets, and I'll deal with it on a future show. Okay, we're going to go to break and come back and do a little cat talk on Animal Party Pet Life Radio.
Begging to hear more of your favorite show? Full episodes of all our shows are available on demand. Go to PetLifeRadio.com to fetch our entire lineup of Possum Pet podcasts. Also, dig us up in iHeartRadio and iTunes. Let's talk pets. Live and on demand, only from Pet Life Radio.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Hello. I guess I should say meow at this point because we're going to be talking about cats next. So cats have so many cool facts about them. And I think sometimes we underestimate them. We look at them like these, objects in our living rooms, sort of pieces of art that maybe like to be pet, but that's it. And different cats have different personalities. Different types of cats have different activity levels and needs for interaction. But one thing is true of all cats, and that is that they have a tremendous effect on their owners. So even though you might think the reason a dog owner is 80% more likely to be alive after a heart attack than a dog owner, you might think that's because of the exercise, and it isn't to a degree. The dog owner is being forced to get out of his house with the dog, and the dog owner is given a safe outlet for exercise and a regular need for it. So, but sometimes dog owners have other people in the homes that are doing the exercise portion of the dog walking, and yet still, anyone with a dog in their home is 80% more likely to be alive after a heart attack a year later than anyone without. Now, what about cats? Well, owning a cat reduces the chance of stroke or heart attack by a third. Yeah, think about that. I know. So, some of the veterinarians I know have a poster that claims this, and they have like a pill bottle, a human pill bottle, and it has a picture of a cat on it, and it says catspirin. And every human should take two. So adopt a couple of cats, and you won't have a heart attack or a stroke. Now, if you adopt a cat and a dog, like many, many people, well, then you're getting the benefits of both, and you're going to stay healthy a long time. What if your kids have allergies? Well, if you have a dog or a cat in the home before the kid is 2, they're far less likely to develop severe allergies. So that's a whole other thing. So why do you need cats and dogs in your world? Because they make you more at peace. They connect you to nature. They keep you in the here and now. They make you the caregiver. No matter how sick you are, you're still the caregiver. They ground you. And in my case, because of the dogs, I never ever think about intruders or security. Because if they're quiet, I know things are fine. Recently, the dogs exploded in barking super early in the morning, and it was like ungodly. It was such an extreme. And I came running downstairs to find an enormous, like the size of a car, bear, the size of a smart car bear, black bear, in my next door neighbor's yard, right against my fence. So I know that if the dogs don't bark, there's nothing there. And if the dogs do bark, they let me know. So I sleep soundly, not listening for everything that might harm me as a human. And I think that is why humans survived once they partnered with canines. They really did have an edge over the Neanderthals who did not partner with canines. They could hear things at a distance, both prey and predator. They could hunt better. They could protect themselves better. Everything went better once we hooked up with canines. Okay, so one more thing about cats I wanted to talk about that I think is kind of amazing. And, you look at your cat and you think, wow, what a great jump. He just jumped from the floor to the top of the dryer, or from the floor to the top of the refrigerator, or the top of the cat scratch, even better. Or he just flew across a fence in the backyard. What an athlete. Yeah, but do you know how athletic he really is? An average cat. Okay, so we're not talking about like Michael Jordan cat. We're just talking about your cat. Okay? Average, lumpy there in the corner, sitting there looking at you like, who, me? Yeah, him, fatty fat over there. Him. Your Persian, your whatever. It doesn't have to be a Siamese or an Abyssinian to be in this category here. Your average cat can jump 6 times their own body length. Okay, so think about that. Think about yourself. Say you're a 6 foot tall man. Okay. Can you just right now stand still? Jump in the air for me. Jump like you want to grab a basketball or maybe spike a volleyball. Okay, jump as high as you can. Give me 36 feet, please. I want to see that. That's what we're talking about. That's incredible. That is incredible. So they also have the ability to shrink their spine and extend their spine with gas, which we can't do. So when you think, look at your cat and you see it fit into this tiny little space, tiny little vase or box or pipe or something, tube, and then you see it some other time stretching to scratch and it seems almost 4 feet tall. That is the same cat. So that's another incredible thing about cats. And that's why cat scratches that are horizontal rarely work. You have to have a cat scratch that's as tall as your cat when it reaches its full length and it arches up and it stretch as high as it can possibly go. Your cat scratch has to be a few inches taller than that. So 5 feet is probably good. 4 anyway. And then you'll be able to protect your furniture by giving your cat an alternative that really, really feels good. Okay. I wanted to talk about a couple of odd things that came to my attention. One of them is a woman got fined for being within 200 meters of a whale. And it's said to be a landmark decision because it's the first time ever a paddle boarding person has got fined for crowding the whales. Now, the whales in question are a transient pod. So if you know whales, you know that means not so safe, okay? Transient pod, hunters, they're hunters. They can bring down deer. They've known to do things that the residents don't necessarily do. Okay, so, and they had babies, calves. So she shouldn't have gone so close. But really, this little woman on her little paddleboard, taking pictures of them in video, was she a threat to them? See, it kind of strikes me that, that it was the other way around. And, you know, while I really do want a 200-meter whale protection zone, I think that's great, especially with fishing boats and motorboats. But a lady on a tiny little paddleboard? I mean, if they didn't want her there, they would have flicked their tail and knocked her silly. And yeah, that's a problem, a different problem. Who's responsible for rescuing her? Okay, that's a problem. But I don't think she was affecting the whales too much. So sometimes I think common sense really isn't involved here. And it needs to be. We need to think about these things. Who are we protecting and why? But keep in mind, if you see whales, and this is what was happening, the charter boats that people would pay for, and they'd pay big money to go see whales, and then these guys would be out there with the heavy power motor chasing after whales, right? To get you your Instagram. So good that it's 200 meters. We got to do that. We got to give them some space. We can't be hunting them down now that their numbers are finally back. And sometimes they come right in close. We had some breaching the ice the other day, and right in the city of Vancouver, people were filming it from their apartments and from Granville Island. And so sometimes they come in close to eat herring or do what whales do. And, you know, that's when you get your real Instagram moments without crowding them because it's their choice. Okay, so that was one thing that caught my attention. And another thing that caught my attention that I thought was fantastic. Once in a while, humans really, really get it right. So most of us in Vancouver, British Columbia, where I live, have dealt with crows. And in springtime, they are a nuisance. They protect their young and they will target anyone walking near their nests, but they will also develop a particular dislike for certain people and recognize those people and harass those people over and over and over again. And so crows can be a real problem. And they've been a problem in France. But here's the thing. Crows are super smart. Crows can use tools. They can adapt things and use things and make tools. And they're geniuses of the bird world. So what they've done in parts of France is they've set up these little trap things that basically have a pouch where cigarette butts are put in, and another area when a cigarette butt enters the trap thing, it automatically releases some birdseed. And so what's happened is they've trained crows, just a couple, to do this. And then because crows learn by watching, all the crows figured it out. And now they have, I guess, flocks of crows who hunt down cigarette butts, find them, put them in these ashtray traps in order to get a little bit of birdseed. And it's cleaning up the streets. And why is this so amazing? Well, one of the things is cigarette butts are really, really deadly. When I used to work at the zoo, I was a volunteer there a long time ago, cigarette butts were one of our worst fears because one cigarette butt can kill an elephant. It seems like, how could that be? They can't vomit. And if they ingest it, it can get stuck. And the things they make cigarette butts out of are really not nice. It's not a paper filter. It's chemicals that don't biodegrade. So cigarette butts are nasty to the environment. They're just a terrible, terrible plight. And they get into everything. And they just, oh, it's a mess in the waterways and everything else. So if you can get crows to do this, I say all power to you. Way to go, French people. Nice one on training the crows. So maybe we can figure something like that out over here. Okay, one more thing I want to talk about. And I may talk about this more next time. But yeah, next time I have to talk about training your dog to find the car, because I know I promised that on a previous show, but it'll come. It'll come. If you all are working on training your dog to find the treat, like I said in the previous show, you can make it harder and harder and harder, and you'll be ready to go for the training your dog to find the car when I announce it and video it. Now, I am videoing puppies. So if you want to see newborn puppies, golden doodle puppies born yesterday, today, tomorrow, if you want to see them as they grow, check out Deb Wolf Pet Expert on YouTube. And please subscribe so you don't miss one of these amazing moments. At about 10 days, they'll open their eyes. They'll start to have expressions. They'll start to, well, they're already making sounds. So if you want to hear what they sound like, and they already move and wiggle and they already have a little bit of personality. So it's worth checking it out. Deb Wolf Pet Expert on YouTube. And I wanted to talk about Tawasin and Point Roberts. So I'm going to do that on a future show. But let me just let you know, there's this little neighborhood in Canada which borders on the U.S. and it's called Tawasin Delta. And it's only a half an hour from Vancouver. But if you keep going south through it, you cross an American border. And on the other side is a peninsula of land that is actually America, but it doesn't connect to America anywhere. You have to take a boat if you want to get to the San Juan Islands or something like that. Or you have to drive north 5 minutes or so through Canada, and then you're in Canada after a 5-minute drive, and then you would have to head east and then south to get to some nearby town like Blaine, Washington, or Bellingham, Washington, or go down to Seattle or something like that. So these people who live in Point Roberts were extremely isolated during COVID, extremely, when the borders were locked. And, you know, a lot of their healthcare and medical care, everything's on the Canadian side. And there they were on the other side. Oh, terrible situation. Beautiful place. Absolutely beautiful place. It's like a forest on the ocean, and the property prices are so low, and it's like going back into time, like a Norman Rockwell painting or Leave It to Beaver. All the homes are small and beautiful, and it's just a lovely, lovely place. So, recently, with all the politics and the discussion of making the border stronger, somebody decided to put up a huge, big fence there. Now, there was already a fence and a road and a border crossing, guarded all the time. So really, was there a need for an extra fence? No. An extra fence to nowhere, right? To this peninsula that leads nowhere. So, okay, so somebody put up a big, big fence. One of the governments did it. And the neighbors on both sides decided that it was so unnecessary. So they lobbied, and the fence came down within a couple of days. And I just wanted to say that that is the nicest border story I've heard in a long time. And I want cool heads to prevail when it comes to all of this. I think there's a lot of posturing and a lot of hot-headed talk. And really, Canada and America have been together for a very long time. In the context of my world, what would happen if a male dog, like my original standard poodle, Vegas, who was born in Montana and was rescued from a fire there and came to live with me, what would happen if he, my AKC American man, mated with my beautiful red poodle, all Canadian girl, CKC girl, which is what happened. Now, are their offspring going to be deported? Are they American? Are they Canadian? Is there going to be a 25% tariff on the puppies? I mean, we've got border trade going back and forth for so long in so many ways, and we need each other so badly, and things work so darn well. Why mess it up? Why put a fence where there's already a fence and a road? We don't need that. You know, I have a customer over there, and she has a cat that's constantly escaping, and she tells me that when she has to go find her cat, who seems to have a second address on the other side of the border. She has to get in her car, drive 10 minutes, cross with her passport, go into America, and walk along the street directly behind her house and call that cat. And then the cat comes and she picks it up, she puts it back in her car, and she drives back across the border. The border guards are used to her by now. And this is a regular thing with this cat. But that's how close our borders are. So let's keep them friendly, everybody. All right, for me, Deb Wolf, an Animal Party, Pet Life Radio. Be good to your animals. Ciao, meow.
Let's Talk Pets every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.